Hello people, welcome to my channel. My name is Aviral, and if you want to learn hardware design of a complex board or you can say the complex mixed signal board from very scratch, then this video is for you. So finally, after a long time, I have created a course of 10 number of lessons, and if you'll talk about hours, so there will be 25 number of hours in that course, and there I've discussed everything from very detail. That means if you learn the schematic design, then you learn about each component that we are putting in the schematic. So again, this video is all about the introduction of course, and I would recommend, if you take the course or not, that is up to you, but just watch this video, and using that video you'll learn, okay, these are the things that is very important for schematic design as well as layout. Now let's talk about how you can purchase this video. So under this video you'll find a link which is join, and from there you will get the purchase link, and after purchase you'll get access of all the 10 lessons as well as their assignment and all the projects files after each lessons. So yeah, and in case of any doubt, I have given my email ID on the description, so you can just mail me in case of any issues or doubts in your mind. Okay, so I hope you will learn a lot from this video, and you will see the value of content on all these 10 lessons of course. So yeah, and again I told you, like, if you want to learn hardware design from very basic, because no one is talking about the hardware design, everyone is talking about the layout, and because hardware design is the key, and that is the secret of every designer. So I'm just revealing this secret using this course. So I hope you will join the course. And
yeah, so let's start with this sheet. So this is the sheet of requirement that we're going to use for this whole project. Okay, so as you can see on this sheet, the first thing is mentioned about the central controller board, right? So they are saying you have to create the schematic and followed by board layout on any software you can use. Okay, now the component and interface section, they have mentioned you have to use the controller STM32F407, right? And which should have the debugger and programmer, which is STM32F103. It is a same family controller with limited capabilities. Okay, so this is one thing that they have mentioned. Another thing they have mentioned is for communication interface, we needed Ethernet, and the transfer speed for Ethernet can be up to 2 megabyte per second. Okay, now another requirement is USB 2.0. So we have to expose the USB, and if we don't have USB on the controller, we will use UART to USB converter. Okay, and another requirement is CAN bus. So we have to expose the CAN RX and CAN TX on a connector from our main controller. So that is another requirement. Next requirement is we have to expose the UART. So again, these all interfaces can be used in many purposes, either to connect another devices or sensors or anything, right? Now in next section there is other component. Okay, so in other component section, the first thing is controller board also host a 24-bit ADC. Okay, so here I have mentioned the part number of ADC, but we will discuss how to choose a ADC, and out of multiple ADCs, how we can select like which one we need to use for our project, which is most suitable for our project. Okay, and with external reference and clock, that is another requirement. Okay, another requirement is it should have the gain amplifier of 128. Okay, and its sample rate requirement is 100 samples per second. Okay, this is another thing. And this ADC measure and input, obviously ADC, we are connecting ADC which converts analog to digital, right? So that means we are going to connect something which provides analog input, right? Or some sensors, right? Some analog sensors like load cell or etc., right? So they mentioned like it has differential voltage and in the range of 0 to 10 millivolt. Okay, So that is another information which is given here. Okay. Now another requirement is the controller board also has ability to run two bidirectional motors. So again, this is another major requirement here. These motors we will assume like these are brushed motor that we will going to run. Okay. And here they have mentioned very important thing, like with varying duty cycle of 0 to 100%. So this means we are controlling the speed of motors also, right? So the whole statement will be we have to connect motor which run on both direction, and we can able to control the speed also, right? Now another requirement is the current rating of motors. So they are saying the motor works on 12 volt and they can consume up to 3 ampere of current. Okay. So we will do the calculation according to these values. Okay. So with all these specification here they have mentioned, like we will going to use DRV 8701 motor driver. So again we will discuss like what are the parameters which is related to motor drivers, and what are the parameters that we should follow when we are going to select any component or any motor driver. Okay. So for bidirectional motion, I mean, if anybody is interested, you can tell me how we can rotate the motors in bidirection. Okay. Anyone?
Is it using a H bridge?
Yeah, right. So as they mentioned here, we have to use the MOSFET bridge, and using that we can rotate the motors in both direction, right? Another requirement is stereo DAC. So again, they have DAC requirement, and where we can connect either headphone or speaker. Okay. And okay, there is a mistake here, and here the interface is I2S. Okay, which is for audio interfaces. Okay. Now another requirement is microphone which will be connected to codec. So again we will use MEMS microphone, which is a chip microphone, and it will be connected to our main controller. So this is also a kind of analog to digital converter. Okay. So yeah, and another things like we have independence to select all the other parameters like all the fees or any magnetics we are using for Ethernet, or any voltage regulators, reference regulators, clocks. So these are the components that we'll be going to select during the schematic design, right? But these are all the components which are major and we're going to select today. Okay. So let's start with the first requirement, which is our microcontroller. So I just want to ask one question. Let's suppose here in this requirement sheet, they didn't mention the part number of controller. They just mentioned we will going to use any controller which should follow all these requirements. Then what we will do? Anyone wants to answer that? Anyone? Okay, so again, then we will follow a procedure, and that will be like so I'm going to mention everything in this sheet, and after the session I will share this sheet with you. So let's suppose we have to select our main controller, right? We have to select our main controller. Now we don't know what are all the parameters that is required, right? So the first thing that we need to choose is we need to basically analyze what are the components or peripherals that we will going to connect. So as for example, here they have mentioned it should have Ethernet. That means our microcontroller should support Ethernet connection either through PHY or directly. Like if it has integrated PHY, then like it is best option, right? So this is how we see, like we will analyze all the peripherals, like how many for example we needed X GPIOs, right? We needed Y number of I2Cs, right? We needed suppose Z number of UARTs, and again clock frequency is a option that we need to define, like what clock frequency is required for our project, right? So this is also defined, like if you are generating PWM or any frequency component, you will know like okay we needed minimum this much frequency, right? Okay, so this is how, after making these all list, we will see now we can move to the manufacturers. Okay, so again, there are a lot of manufacturer available, and those provide controllers, right? So what we will do, we'll just shortlist manufacturer on the basis of few parameter, uh, and the first parameter will be like availability. So I'm just discussing these things randomly. This is how your thought process should be to select any controller. Okay, and here if you want to add, you can add more information like flash memory, what is the flash memory that is required, right? Okay, another thing can be, what are the other parameters we use for controller? What is the RAM of controller, right? What are the voltage level of controller? This is also an important parameter, right? Suppose we are using the peripherals which support 3.3 voltage level, so that means we can't use 5 volt, and if we are using 5 volt, we have to use voltage level shifters for that, right? So that will be our extra hardware, right? So this is how we plan. So here we'll mention availability. Another thing will be the costing, right? So these are all the parameters we will compare between the different manufacturers. Okay. Or another parameters can be like it can be programming language also, right? Which programming language is supported by the controller, right? You have those resources available. I mean, those resources should be open source or free to use, right? So this is also we see. Okay, so these are all the things that we see, but here, like in our case, I have defined like we will going to use STM32F407, and yeah, similarly we can ask this question like how to select the controller, how to select the debugger or programmer for this one, right? So like before going further, I just want to ask one question, like what is debugger and programmer? Anyone want to answer that? Anyone? How we can select a debugger or programmer? Okay, so see, debugger and programmer is the definition of these is like for STM32, this is our main controller, right? And we have to program this controller, right? So there is two way to program it. One is either we will directly use its JTAG or other interface, right? But then we can't debug, right? We can't debug that using those pins, right? So that means we needed another controller with the same family. I will tell you why we needed the same family. Okay, so using that we can able to program it, and yeah, and as well as the debug, and as well as we can debug our program also, right? So again, the second question is how to choose a debugger and what should be the parameters that we should follow for debugger. Okay, so here I'm just mentioning for debugger. Uh, could you please mute? Kish, could you please mute? Yeah, perfect. So yeah, I was discussing how to choose a debugger and what should be the parameters that we should follow for debugger. Okay. So again, so the first thing is like we have two controllers on our PCB, right? And we don't want different software or different programming language for those controllers, right? Because like we have like limited resources and we have to follow that, right? So this is one requirement, like it should be from the same family. So we don't need a different type of softwares or different type of uh, uh, yeah. So yeah, that is one reason. That's why we use. So the first reason is controller should be from same family, right? Okay, I guess someone is requesting for, okay, fine. So yeah, so for the selection of debugger, this is the first requirement. The controller should be from the same family. What should be the another requirement? Another requirement will be the number of bits, right? Number of bits of the debugger should be same as controller. Okay. So anybody wants to tell, like, for a controller, what is the role of number of bits? How it is important? Anyone? Anyone want to answer that?
It is the width of the data bus.
Right. So see, there are for that's why we choose number of bits, because it is really important. Why? Like, we can process those number of bits at the same time. Okay. Another reason is, if we go for the address, like how what are the number of address? So number of address is also related to number of bits. So it will be like 2 to the power number of bit, right? Am I right? Okay. So these are number of locations that where you can use where you can store the values, right? So that is why it is important. So it should be same, because if the number of bits will be less on the debugger, then during the program you can't access the higher you can say the higher address location. Okay. So that is another reason. Now we will see what should be the next reason. Another reason is the clock frequency. So again, clock frequency should be same for both of the controller, the debugger and our main controller. Okay. So that is also one reason, like it should be from the same family, so they support like same clock frequency. Okay. And yeah, and another is the programming method or the programming interface will be supported by both. So for example, if we need to program our main controller, we needed JTAG or SWD. Okay. And if it is not supported by your debugger, then like it is just waste of component, right? I mean, we are not using debugger in the right way. Okay. So that means debugger should also support these JTAG and SWD programming interfaces, right? So again, it should support the programming interface. So these are a few mandatory information or few mandatory parameters that a debugger should have. Only then we can use it to program our main controller, right? So that is one thing. Okay. So from here, like we know like what is the role of our main controller and how we have selected it. If we don't know like which controller we are going to use, okay, so we have to just analyze all the peripherals that we're going to connect and just see like what are the requirement of our controller, and then we will go for different manufacturer and see the availability of resources, etc., right? Okay. Now another thing which is very important, and it is not, so I have not mentioned like which Ethernet fee we will going to use. So here we will see how to choose a Ethernet fee. Okay. So like before, again I have a question for you. What is an Ethernet fee? What is the Ethernet fee? I mean, why we use that and what is the purpose of that? Anyone? Anyone want to answer that? Okay. So for to understand the purpose of Ethernet fee, we'll just discuss one more thing, which is the 7 layers of OSI model. Okay. So again, what is OSI model? So I mean, its full form is Open System Interconnect. So it is the number of layers, and this is how internet works, right? So at the physical layer, we have our raw bits or our hardware. Okay, and this is how we are connected to internet. Using this structure, we are connected, right? But In our case, only two layers are very important. First one is data link layer. So I'll just note down here. So here we are discussing the third parameter. Okay. So in our case, two layers are very important. As I said, one is data link layer and another is physical layer. Right. So now we will see what are the components or what are the hardware on these layers. Okay. So if I'll draw a block diagram, so I'm just going to open the Paint. So here I can draw the block diagram. So this is our data link layer. Okay, and this is our physical layer. Okay, now in under the data link layer, what are the information, what are the things which are connected? Okay, so in the data link layer, I guess you guys have heard these terms during the graduation or before that. It is LAN, WAN, or wireless networks, right? Some wireless local connections. Okay, so these are comes under the data link layer. Now what comes under the physical layer? So again, under the physical layer we have our hardware. It can be any normal hardware or any PCB design which is connected, right? Or anything which are generating raw data. Okay, okay, so that, I mean, we can use this raw data for any purpose. Either we are communicating through any other physical layer or okay, through any medium. So here I'm just mentioning the raw data, which can be our digital data or anything, right? So here under the physical layer we have our raw data, and under the data link layer we have our LAN, WAN, and wireless network. Okay, now how these layers are connected? So this is just very basic. I'm just discussing here. So from here you will understand the whole purpose of Ethernet fee and how we select that. Okay. So to connect these, we needed a MAC address, and that MAC address is provided, that MAC address of the physical layer. Okay. So it is just a hexadecimal address. It is just hex address assigned to physical layer. Okay. So through that MAC, we communicate with other physical layers, okay, or other things using the data link layer. Okay. Now again, like here we have another question: what is MAC? Okay. So again, MAC is as I said, it is a hex address, and its full form is like media access control. Okay. And as I said, it is assigned to hardware or any physical layer, and which is different for different physical layers, and using that we recognize, like I2C, like we recognize the devices, right? So similarly, using that address we recognize, okay, which physical layer is communicating to what, right? So yeah, that is one thing. Okay, so this is the thing that is connected to. So this is what our LAN connector, or you can say here it is a twisted wire pair or any fiber optic, anything, right? So this is how it is connected. Now I'm just going to draw another block diagram. So I'm just going to save it, then I'll share with you later. Okay. So see, now we just saw how our data link layer is communicating to physical layer. Okay, but what is the role of Ethernet fee? Okay, so under the physical layer, uh, uh, like for example, so what we have controller. Okay, so I just draw another block. So we have our STM controller, STM32F407. Okay. Now we'll draw another block, which is our fee. So using that block diagram, you will easily understand. This is our fee. Okay. Now we will use another block diagram. Sorry, another block. So this fee is connect. This fee have RJ45 connector, which is our normal LAN connector. Okay. So I'm just mention here RJ45. Okay. Now again, this RJ45 will be connected to another RJ45. Guys, let me know like if you guys have any doubt. Okay. Another RJ45. Okay. And again, this RJ45 is present over data link layer. Okay. So this is the whole connection between the data link layer and our main controller. Okay. Now we will see how they are communicating to each other. Okay. So again, in this section, here we have our normal LAN. Okay. And which is LAN is what? LAN is a twisted wire pair, right? So again, here we have twisted wire pair. Okay. I'm just going in much detail. So let me know like if I'm going in much depth. Yeah. And these are communicating through interface, which is MAC, right? We just discussed. So these are communicating through MAC address. Okay. Now we are interested in this section because here we see a term fee. Okay. So how it is connecting this data link layer to our hardware? Let's see. So again, this is present over the fee, which is our normal RxTX connection. Okay, differential RxTX, obviously. And here, this is communicating to our main controller using MII or RMII interface. Okay. So again, now you will understand. Okay, this is the whole architecture of the Ethernet connection and how it is communicating with the main controller. Okay. Now here the new term for us is MII and RMII. Okay. So anybody wants to tell like what is this interface? Anyone? Okay. Yeah.
Avi, but after RJ45, you directly connected data link layer. But we can connect only to from physical layer to physical layer, correct?
Yeah. So see on the data link layer, we can connect multiple physical layers.
No. After RJ45, this RJ45, second RJ45,
Okay.
it should go to physical layer. Then it should connect to data link layer.
See, yeah. So physical layer basically what? It also needed a fee between those.
Yeah, correct.
Okay.
Yeah,
So here I'm just considering like data link layer already have fee. Okay. So I'm discussing this section, the first section, which is related to our controller. And yeah, you are right. Here we needed another fee, which will translate all the data which is coming from this fee, right? And our data link only understand the other part of that fee, right? So here I'm discussing this right section, as you can see. Okay, you got my point? Yeah. So again, my question is like, what is MII and RMII interface? Anyone? Okay. So again, we'll see under the Ethernet, we have one more term, MII and RMII. Using that, it is communicating with our main controller, right? So again, this is, I mean, if we'll talk about the full form, it is media independent interface. Okay, so as its name suggests, it is media independent interface, right? That means there will be no dependency of media. And what is media? So we again will maybe heard this term before. Media are these twisted wire pairs or fiber optics, right, etc., etc. So these are all the media. So these interface basically independent of these type of media, and like if it is independent of media, that means we don't need to change the MAC address again or physical hardware again, right? So that is another advantage of using that interface between the controller and our Ethernet fee. Okay. So yeah. So now again, if we'll see, so now if we'll talk about what is media in term of block diagram. So again, if we'll talk about what is media, so that means yeah, I can show you on the previous image. So that means if I'll block this section, okay, so this is media, right? This whole section is media, which is connected to our STM controller, right? And it has an interface of MII and RMII, right? Okay. So again, RMII means reduced media independent interface. Okay. So if we talk about the number of lines that we use, so like for MII, we use like 16 connections, 16 number of signals we use. It has RX, TX, and like multiple number of RX and TX, multiple number of clocks for RX and TX, right? And yeah, and it has like error signals and etc., right? Another is reduced RMII, which has like only 7 connections, I guess. Okay. So we will see what is our requirement. So if you again open the requirement sheet, here you can see our requirement is 2 megabyte per second, right? So that means how many number of bits per second, megabits per second, it will be like 16, right? So our requirement is really small, and we will see under the MII we can able to transfer 100 megabits per second. Okay. Again, we have another terms that we use. I mean, it is very advanced interface, and yeah, like we can transfer up to gigabits per second through that interface, right? So it has again like GMII, you can say. So here we can transfer up to giga Mbps, gigabits per second, right? So through RMII, we can transfer up to 1000 megabits per second. Okay, and here again we can transfer up to 10,000. So this is kind of multiply the transfer. Okay. Okay. So yeah, so as per our requirement, this specification is suitable, and we're going to use the MII. Okay. Now, again, we have finalized few parameters for our Ethernet fee. Okay, and what are those parameters? Like we're going to use, it should have the MII interface. Okay, and it will be connected to our main controller. Okay. Now we will see what are the other parameters that we will going to follow for our Ethernet fee. Okay, so we will see those parameters. So let's open the data sheet of our main controller. So I already bookmarked those links. So yeah.
Aviral, I have a question here.
Yeah, please.
This the transfer rate is there, right? Like 100 Mbps or
Exactly,
10,000
right.
Mbps and all. Yeah, this transfer rate, is it particular to the physical hardware of the interface or also to the controller that we have chosen?
Yeah, so see, those MII will physical layer means what? Physical layer means a layer which is communicating with the another layer, right? Physical layer means our hardware, where we have our all the hardware, right? So sometimes what happen, like controller have integrated physical layer, but in our case the controller we are using, it don't have integrated physical layer. Okay, so that's why it can't directly control directly you can say transfer data to data link layer, right? So that's why we needed a medium which converts, which communicate between those. Okay, so as I said, using MII we will going to communicate between the Ethernet fee and our main controller. Okay, so that is what I have discussed here. So this is our Ethernet fee, it is a chip. Okay, so what happened, like if we talk about some controller, they have integrated chip. So in that case we don't needed any physical sorry, Ethernet fee. You getting my point? Okay, so
Yes.
our Ethernet fee chip is communicating with our controller, right? Yeah, so on this data sheet, again we have to verify like what are the requirement that Ethernet fee should have. Only then it will communicate with our main controller. Okay, so it has like so many number of pages, and if you scroll down and just directly went to page number 105. So in 105 here they mentioned few information. So these all the information are related to jitter, but in our case they mentioned like this controller can communicate with Ethernet fee using the MII, and it can support up to 25 megahertz, right? And for MII it supports the clock frequency up to 50 megahertz for 1000 samples, right? Another information which is given, so that is another required information, like we needed a Ethernet fee which support 25 megahertz of clock frequency, right? So that is another important information we will note down, like MII clock should be 25 megahertz. Okay, now we will see another page. So they have mentioned another block diagram in the data sheet. If we move to page number 189, yeah, this one. Here you can see for MII they have explained all the number of pins. So this is our fee which is communicating with our main controller or using these signals lines. So as I said, MII should have multiple number of TX. So here they have like 4 number of TX lines. Okay, and it should have TH enable, TL clock, and this is our carrier sense, carrier collision, right? And then similarly we have multiple number of RX line, data valid error, right? And our data input output, right? So these are all the things, these are all the connection that we're going to make between the Ethernet fee and our main controller. And again they have mentioned the clock frequency here, right? Similarly for MII also they have, so but we are not using this one, so here they mentioned like it should have 50 megahertz, right? Yeah, so that is one thing. Now we're going to select the MII which have all these information. So we'll just open the DigiKey. You can use any other vendor's website. Okay, and here we will search for Ethernet fee. And yeah, so here we have a lot of options, but we needed an interface controller. Okay, under the so here like we have a lot of options, as you can see, like 542 results. Out of these we'll just apply few filters, and then we will see what are the things we can use and what should be the right procedure to select any component. Okay, And so firstly we'll see like what are we'll filter out all the active parts out of those 500 and something parts. Again, we needed Ethernet protocol here, right? Another filter that we can apply, it should have MII and RMII because STM supports both. Okay, so we'll kind of we'll filter the voltage supply also because it has a lot of voltage variants. So we needed in the range of 0 to 5 volt something. Okay, or we will just leave it because we have only 32 results remaining. So out of those, we will select uh, like which follow our mode, our requirement best. Okay, so now we have like these 32 results. So what I do, like again, those all these are number of chips which has all these features and all these parameters which is like normally common. Okay, so out of these, again I filter out chips on the basis of price. Obviously price is important factor. Again, you can see if you'll see the first chip, which is DP83826. Okay, so it has all the requirements that we want for our requirement sheet, right? So it supports 3 volt to 3.6 volt. Okay, it supports lower voltage also. Again, it supports MII. It has 10 to 100 megabits per second transfer rate. Okay, now we will see the data sheet. Again, like these all have multiple like we have multiple options here, right? So I will tell you like just after that in case of multiple option what we do. Okay, so I'm just going to open the data sheet to discuss more things, or we'll just simply search for its data sheet. So I've already, I guess, bookmarked the data sheet here. Yeah. So here, if you'll see the features, like it have like all these certified protections related to ESD. Like it has like as we discussed, like it supports 3.3 voltage level, right? And it follow the IEEE 802.3 compliant, right? Now the most important thing is its block diagram. So if we'll discuss here, we'll just zoom it here. You can see how it is connected to our controller, right? So again, it should be connected to RJ45 connector, right? And here we have our controller, which is either connected to MII or RMII to our Ethernet PHY, right? And it supports these number of frequencies. So like we needed 25 megahertz, so that is also another parameter that is it is following. Okay, and yeah, so see, rest of the things we will discuss during the schematic design. Okay, so again we'll just verify the number of signals like it has. So again you can see it has 4 number of RX lines. Again, like it follow the MII interface. That means it has all the signals, right, which is required to communication between main controller, right? So yeah, this is how you can choose any Ethernet PHY. Again, you can go for, see, again you can just list down multiple number of features, right? So using that data sheet, you can just use it as a reference. Like you just note down all the features this particular controller has, and you can compare it with another PHY, which is here, right? Or you can simply prepare an Excel sheet. So I'll just show you how. So I have this Excel sheet of MOSFET. I can show you. I think I have to close this one. Yeah. So see, for MOSFETs, I have multiple options. So what I did, I have just noted down all the parameters or features of MOSFET. right? And here I have noted down all the values, right, including the availability, like where it is available, right? And like if you have multiple option, you can easily compare like which a MOSFET is suitable for our project. Simply you can compare like which Ethernet fee is suitable for our project, right? You can see like multiple features. Similarly, I made for the P channel MOSFET, N channel MOSFET, right? So we'll discuss this in much detail in the MOSFET section. But yeah, this is how you can create a similar document for Ethernet fee. Okay. So, like by the end of session, your task will be or assignment will be related to that. So that I will tell you later. So this is how you can compare multiple chips, right? After applying, some considerable requirement, you can again go in much detail and discuss things there, right? So yeah, this is all related to our Ethernet fee. Now again, we will see what else we have. So
Avi, I have just one question.
yeah,
If you consider as a hardware, this one we can select any Ethernet 5. So if you consider as an entire product, you need to consider the driver availability or the
right, right,
software.
right, right.
So how
So
do you make sure that this particular Ethernet 5 is compatible even in software wise for this microcontroller?
yeah, so see that is what I said. Like if we talk about the programmer or support available for this Ethernet fee, you can also compare that. Like okay, for this Ethernet fee, the support is like open source. Okay, so you can simply like compare on the basis of all these things, right? So these features can be like anything, right? So here I just discussed few features which is really important, like how MII and RMII is coming from and how it is important, what should be the rate of Ethernet fee, like that. You got my point, Prashant? Okay, so
Yeah,
your
yeah,
point
Avi.
is considerable, like obviously support or you can say that programming methods should be like easier for hardware designer or the programmer. So that is also a point.
Basically, drivers are codes, no
Right, right,
libraries.
right.
Otherwise, we
Understood.
have to sit and write all the
Right, right.
codes.
Obviously, we can't write everything. Obviously, all the libraries should be easily available. Okay. So yeah, again, this is one thing that you can consider, the driver availability of fee. So I just open the sheet again and mention that. So again, for Ethernet fee, another point is that I can add the driver availability. Okay. Now we'll discuss another thing. See, this is our like this is easy point. So we have to add a USB 2.0. Okay. So again, like if we'll see the pinout of STM32, we'll see like it don't have any USB, which will be kind of debug the main controller, right? So for that, but it has its own debug UART. Okay, so that we will discuss during the pin mapping. Okay, so it has its debug UART. That means we have to use a UART to USB converter. Okay, so generally we use two types of very common UART to USB converter. The one is like it is very popular. It is FTDI chip. Okay, and I guess its part number is FTDI 232. Okay, so that is very common chip that we use for UART to USB converter. Okay, now another chip like which is rarely used by people, but it is, I will tell you why it is like very uh, uh, like advantageous for a hardware designer. Another chip is CS340C. Okay, so this is a kind of Chinese chip. Okay, but the main advantage with this chip is we will see if we open the data sheet of that chip. So like later after the session, I will share all these links with you. Yeah. So this is the generalized data sheet of CS340, but here it has one variant which is CS340C. Okay, the major advantage with this one is like if we are using this variant, we don't need to connect any external clock. Okay, here we don't need to connect any external clock in case of CS340C. Okay, that is one advantage. Another advantage is like we don't needed like much hardware or much number of component with that particular chip. Okay, so as you can see, we needed only these number of component, like 4 or 5 component, and yeah, it will solve our purpose. Okay, so that's why this variant is like kind of really useful in our case. Okay, so similarly, like you can also use that in case of any requirement. So we're going to use this CS340C. Okay, so that is kind of also final. Like for UART to USB converter, we're going to use this chip. Okay. Now again another, so CAN bus, so like our controller has CAN interface. Okay, so it has CAN inter, I can show you on the data sheet. So yeah, so it has, I guess, 2 number of CAN. You can see, yeah, here. Okay, so it has CAN interface. We have to just expose those pins on a 4-pin connector with VCC and ground, and we can use it for any purpose, right? So yeah, this is one thing. Another thing is UART requirement. Okay, so similarly, like CAN controller has multiple UARTs. Okay, so one UART will be using for this one, and another UART will be exposed, right? So I will show you this one also. So as you can see here, it has 4 UART and 2 UARTs. Okay, so anyone like again a question for you guys. Anyone wants to tell like what is UART and UART? I mean, it is simple. Anyone? Yeah, so see, I mean, its answer is on its full form. So it is like universal asynchronous RxTX. Asynchronous means it is independent of clock, right? And here we have UART, which is synchronous and asynchronous both. So we can use UART, you can say as a UART also, right? So in case suppose we needed, so this is what happened in my last project. So I needed like 4 or 5 UART in the project, and like only 2 number of UART which is available. So I have used these UART and just ask the programmer to configure those as a asynchronous. Okay, so that means you can use those in both way. Okay, so this is also kind of advantage. Now another thing is related to our analog to digital converter. Okay, so again it is really useful, and we will see what are the information which is present on this statement which is given here. Okay, and then on the basis of those we will select analog to digital converter. Okay, so here I have defined this. I will tell you why it is it has like very useful features. And another thing is I have faced few problems with this analog to digital converter, so I just want to tell you those problems during the schematic design. That's why I've included this one also. But yeah, again using that Excel that I have shown you, you can again select the analog to digital converter. I will tell you. Okay, so see, from this statement we know like we needed ADC of 24 bit. That is one information. So here we'll see the parameters for ADC. Okay, so first thing is the number of bit should be, I just write like this, should be 24. Okay, now what